So, I want to thank you for being on my show. You've been a mixed martial arts fan since at least the year 2005 that I know of. You know what I mean?
I've been since the beginning.
So you've seen the damage that Matt Hughes did to people and what was done to him. But he says this incident that we're gonna use as a springboard for our topic, it's as a result of his car being hit by a train, which I can't even imagine, because I had symptoms of brain injury and I never even got knocked out. So I could only imagine what somebody like that, has going on. That's the thing about brain injury. It's not like, oh, you broke your leg, you can think about your broken leg, but if the thing that's doing the thinking is injured, nobody knows what's going on. Got anything to add?
Do you think his family portrayed him like he says, or do you think his traumatic injury portrayed him? Because he says he would never harm any of the family members. So I'm thinking maybe he doesn't remember that he harmed his family members because of his traumatic injury.
Yeah. I have some memory loss from when I was irritable and what's the other word? Emotionally disturbed, I would say. I was fighting with people. I never got physically abusive outside of a professional martial arts setting, but there's a period of a few years when things are hazy for me. So the other thing is that when we train as martial artists for so long and for so much of our lives is dedicated to training things, we actually want things to become kind of like instinctual, where we're not even thinking. So they say the truth lies somewhere in the middle with things like this,
I was very sad when this news happened. I don't know why, but it his family disowned because of his traumatic injury, brain injury.
Yeah, it's sad, these things, but at least he's still alive. That's the thing about being a champion. You can get knocked down, you could lose, but you could still make a comeback. I would love, I don't know how physically able he is, but he and I were on season 2 together as coach, and he was my coach, and he gave me a concussion, and I know I had a concussion because I was crying. Crying is a symptom of concussion. Just like when I gave somebody a concussion in one of my matches, he was crying. And people who don't understand the physical effects of these type of things, they thought, oh, when somebody's crying, it's like something that they're thinking about. It's a totally natural reaction. If you look up the symptoms of concussion, because crying is one of them. But Matt Hughes was my coach, and he was doing a ground and pound drill with us, where the person on top has boxing gloves. You start in the guard position, and the person on the bottom has MMA gloves. Only the person on top can do ground and pound, and the person on the bottom has to defend and stuff. And he wailed on me for 5 minutes. You know, he was the most dominant UFC champion at one point, and very strong guy. I could not do anything except survive for 5 minutes. I ended up, you know, like I said, crying. And not that I was, you know, thinking about like, oh, poor me, but that was the effect of being punched in the head over and over again. I forgot what we were saying. What else?
That footage that they showed on Ultimate Fighter 2, that footage that they showed of you and Matt Hughes sparring, could have that been a video of could that brain damage too? Because they showed on Ultimate Fighter 2 they showed Matt Hughes beating the shit out of you.
Oh yeah,
during,
so that probably
practice drill.
that probably was something like that. Now the time that I'm thinking of was when I had actually already been on his team, and that was one of the ways that he was getting us ready for the fight, but for our fights. But I remember what the reason why I brought that up is because guys like him, when my League of Champions picks up, that's a guy that I would love to spar with, you know. And we never actually did real sparring. We only did that one ground and pound drill and possibly some grappling. But that's the only thing I can remember. We definitely never did any full like MMA rule sparring, starting from the standing position. I'm not afraid of somebody like that, regardless of how good they are, because in my rule system, it's possible that anybody could do MMA sparring and not be afraid of being injured. You know, it's like, if this is really going to be a sport like people want it to be, considered a sport, and, you know, the fastest rising sport, I'm all about that. I'm definitely down for the cause and for the long haul. It's just scientifically not going to happen because they're not regulated enough. And I know you agree with me on this because you want to be involved with the League of Champions up in Canada.
Of course, Luke. Yeah, anything goes out. You know, this is can be a very devastating sport. So my heart goes out to anyone that has suffered traumatic brain injuries.
Yeah, I'm just watching a video here. This is from, how long ago is this? It's only a few years ago, 2015, but the poor guy gets knocked out cold, you know, and they have no idea what to do. These people, they're studying, you know, the effects of brain injury now, and it's like, once the damage is done, you know, nothing you do is going to get that person back to the way they were. We really got to think about what actually is the reason why people are doing martial arts. It's not to beat somebody up or to injure somebody. It's to improve themselves. And, you know, we're supposed to be the leaders and show people how to improve themselves, show people how to defend themselves, and not, you know, hurt each other or ourselves, or willingly go into something that's a dangerous situation, you know. But it takes, once you realize, like I have, what to do, then it does take a bit of effort. You know, I'm looking forward to the day when you can come down to one of my events and be a special guest, maybe a judge, a scorekeeper, you know, because you've been watching for so long, you know how to score, what's a good move, and when people know what they're doing, what's going on, you know. But I'm glad you're following my channel, and I did put that recipe up for you. That cheese recipe is very versatile, and I could show you other ways to use it, but that's a recipe that's very good for brain health. Whether or not you've been injured, if you're interested in building healthy brain tissue, and that goes for kids and older people, there's something called living fat. And this is applicable to all recipes. If you imagine as a human being, as an animal, right? We're actually in the great ape family. And we have organs that are millions and billions of years old. And they haven't really changed at all. And they've evolved to process nutrients in a certain way. So when you bring in these living fats, they actually go in a 1-to-1 ratio to brain cells. Whereas if you have something that's not a healthy fat, it's going to end up costing the body something to work with. And that's the best case scenario. In other situations, you might have something that's excitotoxic, and you've probably heard of things that kill brain cells. But as best as we can, we do know now how to heal, to give the body its own strength, you know, its own support, so that the body itself is really what heals itself. And I want to thank you for helping me out with this video, and maybe we can talk about some more interesting things in future videos. I'm just going to cut it short because people don't have a attention span, but you gave me the idea for this video. What else can you say for people who's watching and they're talking about Matt Hughes' traumatic brain injury and his troubles that he's got into because of that, and his behavior and stuff like that that was affected by that? Any other talking points that you thought of?
Well, I don't know if the family is neglecting him or being fair to him, but if you know of anyone that is suffering from traumatic brain injuries, treat them extra special. Know where they came from and what they've been through, and know that they have a real injury, and they're not, you know, the way that you would like to be treated. Remember, they're not the same person that they used to be, and it's the brain injury. So I know it must be hard to live with someone with the injury, like someone like as serious as what Matt Hughes has, but just know that they're not the same person as they once were, and just treat them special, because it's not the same.
I agree. You know, I've worked with people that they yell at kids when the kids are being kids, you know, running around, causing a ruckus, being curious, touching things, having a lot of energy, running around, being loud. You get people that, because they can't deal with it, because they themselves are overwhelmed, they have to kind of shut down the situation instead of really work really hard at making it better, understanding, like you said, what a person could be going through. And you know, Matt Hughes, he's still somebody's child, and he does deserve to be given a chance to heal, and that may include for him working on his behavior, which I don't know the story of what actually went down, but I know from myself, like I said, I was irritable and argumentative, and I've since, had to be honest with myself about my role and everything, with my traumatic brain injury, and we can't keep doing the same thing expecting a different result. So if anybody's watching and you want to do something about traumatic brain injury, you want to stop violence to people's children in the cage, in the whole of mixed martial arts and martial arts in general. There's not just mixed martial arts, but there's other sports that people get injured from. We need to work together as a team. The greatest leaders in history are not the biggest and the strongest. They're the ones that have the biggest and strongest team. And that's why the human is the most powerful species in history, because we're a social animal. And I want to thank you again for being on this program, and hopefully we can do it again soon.
Thank you so much, Master Luki.
You're welcome.
I